Before the wedding, Sophia and I made an appointment to travel to the snowy mountains. On the way, Sophia left me halfway up the mountain in order to take the dog of her childhood sweetheart to the hospital. When the avalanche occurred, she was busy helping her childhood sweetheart deliver the dog's puppies. I called Sophia countless times, but she hung up on me every time. It was not until a mountain climber found me and sent me to the hospital. I begged him to make one last call to Sophia. Her extremely impatient tone almost burst through the phone. Tell him, if he wants to die, he should do it sooner. Stop babbling here, I don't have time to listen. Before entering the operating room, I completely gave up hope. After waking up, I cancelled the wedding banquet that I had prepared. Julian, why did you cancel the wedding banquet? Do you know how hard Ethan worked to select these dishes? On the other end of the phone, Sophia's anger seemed as if she wanted to burn me to the ground at that moment. I had my legs broken by the avalanche last night. I can't have the wedding. The effect of the anesthesia on my legs hadn't worn off yet, and my whole brain was still in a dazed state. However, Sophia on the other end of the phone didn't want to let me go so easily. She retorted confidently, "It's just one broken leg. You can just use a crutch." A dense stinging pain hit me, and I gritted my teeth hard to keep myself from crying out. My whole body was shaking non-stop. Both legs are broken. The air fell into a deathly silence. After a long while, Sophia quickly said, "Since the wedding can't be held, don't waste the banquet. It's just right to hold a celebration banquet for Coco. This time it gave birth to 5 puppies and we need to have a big celebration." Coco is the dog raised by Sophia's childhood sweetheart. She used the most ordinary words, which turned into ice blades and stabbed straight into my heart. I gasped in shock at the coldness. I said it was up to her, and Sophia immediately hung up the phone. Even if a stranger learns that someone is in the hospital, according to custom, they will offer some words of comfort and concern, right? What's more, it was they who left me behind, which led to my injury. Now I'm reduced to being less important than a dog in her eyes. On the day of removing the stitches, the pain made big beads of cold sweat break out on my forehead. The doctor was afraid that I would pass out from the pain, so he stopped what he was doing and allowed me to rest for a few minutes. The notification sound of Ethan's WeChat moments came from my phone. I clicked in and saw a photo of Sophia and Ethan holding the dog. In the photo, Sophia's long black hair was coiled up with just a hairpin. She was wearing a red cheongsam, holding the dog and snuggling in Ethan's arms. Ethan was wearing a black Chinese tunic suit and had a tall and straight posture. The caption was, "Coco, you've worked hard. Mom and Dad are proud of you." Ethan specifically reminded me to look at this post, and the purpose was obvious. He succeeded. I really felt so heartbroken that I couldn't breathe when I saw it, and it hurt more than having the stitches removed from my wound. I lay back on the hospital bed with a pale face. The next second, Sophia's call came in. Ethan found a master to calculate the date. "It's suitable for marriage in 3 days. We'll hold the wedding again then." "No, my legs haven't healed yet." When the person on the other side heard me say this, they immediately became angry and shouted, "Julian, don't be ungrateful. Coco could run around right after a difficult labor. You've just had your legs broken and you've been recuperating for almost a month. How could it not be healed yet?" I fell silent, not knowing how to answer her. People are different from dogs, and besides, the illnesses are not the same. Not getting a reply, Sophia angrily shouted, "In that case, let's just not have the wedding at all." "Okay," I replied simply and firmly. On the other end of the phone, Sophia had expected that I would try to persuade her to keep the wedding. Unexpectedly, after I said that, she stammered uncertainly, "You said okay?" "Yeah." In an instant, Sophia exploded. "Julian, are you crazy? I'm telling you, this wedding is not negotiable. You have to crawl to the banquet hall even if you die." Her voice was so loud that it hurt my eardrums, and I had to hold the phone farther away. Beep, beep, beep. After venting her anger on me, Sophia hung up the phone before I could reply. I sighed. This was probably the consequence of me giving up my career for love in the first place. I scrolled through the phone book on my phone and found the phone number at the bottom and dialed it. Before the phone rang for 3 seconds, the other side answered. "I regret it. I want to work on a career with you." A very excited voice came from the other side, and we agreed that he would come back from abroad to pick me up and go abroad together. After that day, Sophia made another phone call, only saying that the master had calculated that there would be an even better day later, and the wedding was postponed. After that, she never contacted me again. It wasn't until I was about to be discharged from the hospital that she sent me a text message saying that she would come to pick me up from the hospital today and asked me to wait for her at the hospital gate. In November, the cold wind was biting, whistling into my collar, making me keep rubbing my hands to keep warm. I waited from the time the sun rose until it set, and it seemed that the moon was about to come out. My heart was as cold as ice. I picked up my phone and wanted to make one last attempt to ask if Sophia had come. But I saw the post that Ethan had sent 5 minutes ago. There were 2 live photos with no caption. I clicked in. One photo was of him holding a puppy and saying that the mother dog didn't have enough milk and the puppy was pitiful because it couldn't get enough to drink. The other photo was of Sophia with her hair loose, wearing a floral apron, stirring the boiling soup in the pot with a spoon. Ethan was praising her beside her. Coco's mom is really thoughtful. 2 crucian carps weren't enough, so she added 2 big pork bones for Coco. This kind of crucian carp soup was what I learned to cook for her on the internet when she was sick. At that time, she pestered me saying that she wanted to learn, and that she would cook it for me like this when I was sick in the future. I taught her, but unfortunately, the soup she was cooking now wasn't for me. The milky white soup was boiling in the pot, just like my heart that was being stewed at the moment. The heat made my hands tremble uncontrollably. I exited the WeChat Moments and opened the ride-hailing app to call a car home. Seeing that the lights in the house were still on, thinking of the WeChat Moments that Ethan had posted just now, Sophia should still be at his house. Maybe she just forgot to turn off the lights when she went out. I turned the key to open the door, and a scream of, from Sophia came from the living room. She was curled up in Ethan's arms on the sofa, and the lipstick on her mouth was smudged all over. When she saw me come in, she became furious and grabbed a pillow beside her and threw it at me. "Didn't I tell you to wait for me at the hospital gate?" The gray-blue shark-shaped pillow rolled twice on the ground and landed steadily at my feet. Its small eyes looked at me confusedly and helplessly. I remembered when we first moved into this house, there was no furniture or home appliances. She took my hand, opened her big round eyes and smiled sweetly, saying, "Just buy 2 stuffed toy pillows first, and we can add the rest slowly later." We wandered around IKEA 2 or 3 times, and finally chose this shark-shaped pillow. "Here, this big one is you, and the small one next to it is me. You have to protect them well in the future and don't throw them around." Now the small shark was at my feet, and the big one was being used as a cushion under Ethan's buttocks. I bent down to pick up the pillow and gently patted off the faint dust on it. It was clearly she who said she wanted to protect it well. "I'm talking to you. Are you deaf?" Just as I opened my mouth to explain, I saw her wave her hand impatiently. "Forget it. There's a bowl of nutritious soup I cooked for you on the table. Go and drink it." It was as if I had been slapped hard and then given a sweet date. No one cared if I was in pain, and no one cared whether I was willing to accept such a form of compensation as a sweet date. Sophia stared at me intently, as if I didn't drink this bowl of soup at this moment, I would be a criminal deserving of death. I gave in. It was worth it if I could get through this last night peacefully by drinking it. I lifted the ceramic lid of the pot, and the soup inside immediately made my face turn cold. Ethan quickly got up from the sofa, walked quickly behind me and craned his neck to look into the pot. He covered his mouth in surprise. My God, the soup has already cooled down and formed oil droplets on the surface. He looked at the soup as if feeling sorry for it, and then looked at me with a false look of guilt and continued. "This crucian carp soup even has 2 big bones added to it and was slowly stewed over a low fire. Coco really couldn't drink that much, so we thought of leaving a portion for you, Julian, to nourish your body. But this, sigh. If you think it's a pity, then you can drink it." I casually pushed the soup towards his hand. They were really being too insulting. They actually gave me the food that was meant for the dog. What's more, it was a lactation soup. Seeing that my face darkened, Ethan straightened up and leaned in front of me, smiling and saying, "Julian, you're not angry, are you?" At this moment, I wished I could tear him into pieces. But he continued to provoke me and talked on and on. This soup was made by Sophia herself. It would be a pity not to drink it and waste her good intentions. A smug smile appeared on Ethan's face. I clenched my fists and suppressed the urge to punch him down. Sophia frowned impatiently. "Julian, it's just that the soup is a bit cold. If you want to drink it, drink it. If not, get out of here as soon as possible." Hearing this, Ethan tilted his head and echoed in my ear, "Did you hear that? If you want to drink it, hurry up. If not, get lost." His extremely arrogant and provocative attitude completely enraged me. Whoosh! I picked up the ceramic pot and poured the soup on Ethan. The congealed oil clung tightly to Ethan's collar, and the cold soup dripped down from the chest of Ethan's coat along the hem, tick-tock, onto the log-colored anti-wood board tiles. Sophia shouted at me in a hurry, "Julian, are you crazy?" She stepped forward and pushed me aside. The ceramic pot shattered on the ground as it hit, and my hand landed less than 5 centimeters away from the ceramic fragments. A slight, tingling pain came from the place where the steel plate was inserted in my leg. It was as if being gnawed at by ants densely, and the pain made the blue veins on my hand bulge. Enduring the discomfort, I got up and saw Sophia coming out with a towel, wanting to wipe Ethan's clothes. He gave me a smile, then pinched a corner of the towel with his fingers. "Sophia, isn't this Julian's face towel? How can it be used again if it gets stained with oil stains?" A trace of embarrassment flashed across Sophia's face, and then she said straightforwardly, "It's okay. Anyway, Julian doesn't care about these things. After I wipe you with it and wash it, it can still be used for washing his face. I'm probably like a trash can in her eyes, otherwise why would she dump all kinds of rubbish on me?" My heart was a bit tired, and I felt extremely fatigued all over. I walked straight to the bedroom, locked the door and then lay down on the bed. Outside the door, seeing me leave, Sophia and Ethan became even bolder and started flirting. "Ethan, don't move there. I haven't wiped your clothes clean yet." "What's the point of wiping the clothes? I'm all on fire and just waiting for you to put it out." "Ahaha, keep your voice down. You're so annoying. What if he hears us?" "Don't worry. My movements are so quiet. Come on, baby, give me a kiss. Even if I pulled 2 pillows over my ears to block them, I still couldn't stop those disgusting sounds from reaching my ears. Perhaps their movements were too big and they knocked over the vase. The sound of the glass shattering brought them back to their senses. After a moment of silence, there came a series of dong-dong-dong knocks on the door. "Julian, you splashed dirty water on Ethan's clothes and made me clean up the mess, and that's okay. But now how dare you huddle inside and not make a sound?" Ethan beside her didn't forget to fan the flames. "Sophia, Julian didn't mean it. Let it go. It's just a pity that these clothes are quite expensive." Provoked by his false words, Sophia became even angrier and started pounding on the door. "Julian, come out and apologize right away, and pay for Ethan's suit by the way." Seeing that I didn't make any response, Sophia was so angry that she kicked the door violently with her foot, making a bang-bang-bang sound. I got up and opened the door directly. She let out an ouch and almost fell to the ground. Before she could start cursing, I took the disinfectant alcohol and sprayed it at them first. "Julian, if you don't want to apologize, that's okay. But what are you doing now?" As he spoke, he protected Sophia in his arms and stepped back. Sophia couldn't stand it anymore. She rushed forward angrily, snatched the alcohol bottle from my hand and threw it aside. "If you want to go crazy, go outside and do it." I smiled self-deprecatingly, raised my hand and pointed at them. "Me going crazy? You two are so dirty, and I'm being kind enough to disinfect you. How am I going crazy?" Sophia glared at me furiously. "What do you mean? You two are having an affair and you're still asking me what I mean?" She stared at me with a cold expression. Ethan pushed her with his hand as if urging her. Sophia came to her senses, left a sentence, "I think you've been in the hospital for too long and messed up your brain," and then pulled Ethan and slammed the door as they left. Looking at the door that she had closed heavily, a sense of powerlessness swept over my whole body. I slowly slid down along the door and sat on the ground. By chance, I caught a glimpse of a gift box beside the pile of glass fragments. The familiar outer packaging drove me to get up and walk towards it. Inside was my favorite computer graphics card, and there was also a greeting card inserted in the corner. "Happy birthday, Ethan. This is just a sample. I've covered the whole room in Choshan Villa with this graphics card for you." I almost couldn't hold the box steady, so I had to put it back on the spot first and lie down on the sofa myself to take a break. This graphics card was something I often talked about wanting since I started my business with Sophia. At that time, we were short of money, and I couldn't bear to buy it. She said that when we made a lot of money in the future, she would buy a whole room full of these for me on my birthday. Until the company became more and more prosperous, Sophia became busier and busier. I stepped back to a secondary position and worked as a purchaser in the company, and this promise was never fulfilled. I stared straight at the clock on the wall. Time really flies. There are only 20 minutes left until my birthday. She did buy a room full of graphics cards, but they weren't for me. Ding dong. Ethan sent me a few pictures. He was only wearing a pair of black boxer shorts with lace trim, and he was hugging Sophia, who was dressed way too skimpily, with one hand. I zoomed in and took a closer look. This set of clothes was the one I bought for her before. At that time, she blushed shyly and said, "This is too sheer. I won't wear it for you to see." But in a turn of events, Sophia was now wearing this outfit and fooling around with Ethan. I tried my best to suppress the anger that was about to burst out from my throat. At this time, Ethan sent me a video. The picture was too dark to see clearly, but the audio was full of lustful sounds as if they were about to rush out from the screen in front of me. I couldn't hold back anymore. With red eyes, I smashed my phone hard at the couple photo that we took together on the wall. The morning light was dim. I didn't sleep all night. I sat on the sofa and quietly watched the clock turn to 7 o'clock. At 7:30, the sound of the key being inserted into the lock hole and unlocking started. When Sophia opened the door and saw me with a full beard and a desolate look all over, she stumbled in fright. "Aren't you going to wash up and go to work at this hour? Do you want me to ask the HR department to issue you a fine?" I slowly turned my head, opened my dry and cracked lips. "I'm resigning on my own. I don't want to work in the company anymore." She was extremely surprised and stood there stunned for a while before continuing to speak. "Julian, you've known about my relationship with Ethan, my good friend, for a long time. Now I'm warning you, enough is enough. I'm serious." After hearing what I said, Sophia put her hands on her hips and laughed out of anger. She pointed at me. "Very well. This is what you said. You can resign, but the company has a rule that an employee who submits a resignation must wait until a new person is recruited within a month before they can leave." In an instant, all the words she couldn't wait to say were like knives that pierced my heart with great precision. I could only nod bitterly and say, "Okay." I don't know what was wrong, but after hearing my answer, Sophia became even angrier and threatened me. "I think I'll let Ethan take over your job. You only have 3 days to teach him. If you don't teach him well, you won't be able to leave." "Fine." After getting my affirmative answer, Sophia turned around, gave me a fierce glare and slammed the door as she left. She was very quick. As soon as I walked into the office, I saw Ethan sitting at my desk. Ethan propped his chin with one hand and provoked me playfully. Sophia said that in order for me to take over as soon as possible, she specially arranged for me to sit here. "Julian, you won't mind, will you?" The colleague sitting opposite me stiffly raised his eyes to look at me and blinked his eyes, signaling me to bear it. After all, since Ethan parachuted into the company as a secretary while I was in the hospital, even the dogs in the company would avoid him when they saw him, for fear that he would find an excuse to fire them if he wasn't happy. He has already fired more than a dozen veteran employees, and the remaining people are all in a state of inexplicable panic and dare not offend him. This was also what the front desk customer service kindly reminded me of when I first arrived at the company this morning. Seeing me standing there in a daze, Ethan deliberately turned the computer screen towards me for me to see. "Julian, the profile picture of your work account isn't very nice. I've changed it to a new one for you. What do you think of this one?" The previous profile picture of the account was a couple photo of me and Sophia where we were lightly kissing. Now he has replaced it with a picture of a rural local dog. I clenched my fists and gritted my teeth and said, "How did you know the password of my account?" Ethan raised his eyebrows and gave me a contemptuous smile. The answer was obvious. I angrily pulled open the door of the office and took the elevator towards the president's office. The door of Sophia's office was tightly closed, and only the secretary assistant was allowed to go in and pass on the message. Even I wasn't allowed to go in. Looking at the door that used to be always open for me, at this moment, it was so tightly closed that not a single ray of light could get through. In an instant, I had an epiphany. Even if I burst in now, or if I called Sophia out, she wouldn't stand on my side, so there was no point in looking for her. I went back to the door of the procurement office. I changed my original idea and decided to just focus on teaching Ethan well and getting through these 3 days. When he said my voice was too low, I asked a runner to buy a small microphone. When he said he couldn't understand the backstage system, I copied each item into a notebook and annotated what it was for. Finally, after I had finished explaining most of the work content, I looked down and saw that he was holding his phone and smiling with a lewd expression. I was curious, so I quietly walked beside him and glanced sideways at his phone screen. There were dense conversations and interactions on it, all of which were Sophia and him flirting. As for his lewd smile, it was because Sophia had sent him high-definition private photos. Just thinking that I wasn't allowed to enter the president's office earlier because Sophia was inside taking such things made me feel physically uncomfortable. Suppressing the urge to vomit, I straightened my face and said to Ethan, "Did you understand everything I just said?" "Yeah, I got it. He was too lazy to even lift his eyelids and just perfunctorily tapped on the screen to send the message while speaking. Seeing Ethan like this, even if I taught him, he wouldn't do the work seriously. How could such a person be in the position of purchasing director? Without caring about anything else, I threw down the pen in my hand and rushed straight to the president's office. This time, the door was open. After Sophia listened to my accusation, she smiled softly and retorted, "Aren't all these things because you, as the master, didn't do a good job? If you can't teach your apprentice well, you should reflect on whether you taught properly, instead of blaming the apprentice for not working hard. Just like you always question the relationship between me and Ethan, haven't you ever thought about whether there's something you didn't do well?" Not only did I not get understood, but I was also verbally abused in a manipulative way. My shoulders drooped, and I was so choked up in my throat that I couldn't say a word. It felt as if all the sadness and disappointment in the world were rushing towards me. When Ethan saw me come back in a disheartened state, he crossed his arms and said disdainfully, "What's the use of tattling? I think you should just stay put these 3 days. Anyway, I almost know all your work content." I looked up at him. He had the air of a street ruffian, and he looked unreliable no matter how I looked at him. Yet Sophia liked him. Now that I thought about it, if the emperor isn't in a hurry, there's no use for me, the eunuch, to be anxious to death. I let out a long sigh of frustration and decided to do as Ethan said. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed, and Sophia called both me and Ethan into the president's office. She asked me seriously, "Are you sure you've taught Ethan everything?" Her tone was more like an interrogation than an inquiry. I nodded irritably and replied, "Yes, I have." Sophia cast a suspicious look at Ethan. He smiled and assured her repeatedly that he knew everything and was confident that he could take over all my work. Sophia's face immediately softened, just like the winter ice melting instantly when it meets the warm sun. I felt like a third wheel standing there, as if I shouldn't be there at all. Sophia was so happy that she clapped her hands in succession. "That's great. From today on, Ethan, you are the purchasing director of the company." Hearing this, the bitterness in my heart welled up. Back then, I had to go through a 6-month probation period to become a purchaser, and I worked hard for 3 years to be promoted to the position of purchasing director. Now Ethan could step into my current position effortlessly. It was really ironic. As she spoke, she turned her gaze to me again. "Since you've handed over all the work in the company, sign this contract on the desk." I looked down and saw that it was a labor contract signed as a volunteer dog midwife. When I opened it, the job content included but was not limited to bathing the dog, cleaning up its feces, taking care of the puppies, making homemade dog nutrition meals, and checking whether the dog's milk was enough to feed the puppies, and so on. The most excessive thing was that all the above work was unpaid and voluntary. I was so angry that my whole body couldn't stop shaking. Sophia looked confident, certain that I would accept this unequal treaty for her sake. She added, "You know that it's really hard for Coco to raise 5 puppies alone. Just think of it as giving a helping hand. You won't have to do it once the puppies grow up." Ethan beside her pretended to persuade her and said, "Sophia, it's sudden for Julian to go from being the purchasing director to a dog nanny. He surely can't accept it. How about, just..." As soon as Sophia heard this, she interrupted him. She pointed at me with a stern face and scolded, "If he doesn't want to work in the company, he expects me to support him at home and live off me. Doesn't he even go out and ask who I, Sophia, am?" I laughed self-deprecatingly. She actually thought that I left my job because I wanted to live off her. All the bits and pieces of our past struggles together now reappeared in my mind as a huge joke. Seeing that I had no intention of repenting and even dared to laugh, Sophia couldn't hold it in either and shouted at me, "If you dare not sign this contract today, I'll break up with you. And this company will have nothing to do with you either." She also knew that this company was co-founded by her and me in the first place, and as a matter of principle, I should have half of it, but I didn't want any of it now. I clenched my sleeves tightly and stared at her firmly. "Then let's break up." Sophia couldn't believe it and touched her ears. "What did you just say?" Ethan quickly stood up and took her hand, saying affectionately, "Julian just said he wants to break up with you, Sophia." The joy in his eyes couldn't be hidden. Upon hearing this, Sophia's face darkened completely, and she warned me, "Julian, it's okay if you don't sign that contract. It's just that your leg injury hasn't healed yet, so it's good for you to go home and recuperate for a while. I'll pretend I didn't hear what you said about breaking up, but when you're at home recuperating, you still have to." "Sophia, I'm serious. I want to break up with you and also resign from the company." My words interrupted her delusion. She was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth for a long time. I turned around and was about to walk out. Sophia hurriedly shouted, "Julian, if you walk out of this door today, don't come back again in the future." Hearing this, I turned around and looked at her. Okay. After saying that, I walked out of the door resolutely. All that was left was Sophia, who was acting like a madwoman and swept everything on the table onto the floor. As soon as Ethan put his hand on her wrist, she threw his hand away violently. "Get out of here. All of you get out." He had no choice but to timidly withdraw his hand, and in his mind, he cursed me hundreds of times before leaving leisurely. The process of packing my things at home was extremely fast. The house was full of things I bought for Sophia, and there were very few things that belonged to me. My brother had sent me a message earlier, right after I left the company, saying that he had something urgent to attend to and arranged for the most trustworthy person to pick me up in the community. After waiting downstairs with my suitcase for half an hour, a red Ferrari slowly stopped in front of me. With long black wavy hair, red lips, and wearing sunglasses, the woman unbuckled her seatbelt with one hand and got out of the car. The moment her high heels stepped on the ground, she took off the sunglasses on her face, and twirled the sunglasses legs in her hand. "Are you Julian?" I nodded. She reached out her hand to me and introduced herself. "Hello, I'm Daniel's sister, Luna. I happened to be on a business trip in Hongqing, and Daniel said he asked me to pick you up." Facing such a bright and flamboyant opposite sex for the first time, I inevitably felt a little nervous. After gently touching her hand, I quickly withdrew my hand as if I had been burned. This made her burst into laughter. "Ha, you're so innocent." I was about to look up and defend myself when I saw Sophia walking over, holding a dog leash in one hand and Ethan's hand in the other. The girl was happily interacting with the snow-white dog, and the man was standing beside them, watching quietly. The warm scene was like a thorn stuck in my heart, hurting me so much that I couldn't pull it out. When Sophia noticed me, my luggage had already been put in the car. "Julian, did you break up with me because you've hooked up with another rich woman?" As she spoke, she handed the dog leash to Ethan and then quickly walked up to Luna. "Miss, as someone who has been through it, I still want to remind you a few things. If he can abandon me and choose you just to live off you, one day in the future, he will abandon you for someone else or a greater temptation." I frowned and glanced at her. In her eyes, was I just a gigolo who lived off women? Was I someone who would stop at nothing to seek someone to support me? "I have nothing to do with you anymore, Miss Sophia." It's really not something that a company president should do to talk about others like this. When Sophia heard me say this, her eyes immediately turned red. "Julian, I didn't say anything when you cheated on me during our relationship. What right do you have to teach me what to do? You know very well who the one who cheated is. As for the rest, since we've already broken up, there's no need to drag things out any longer." My words were so firm that my chest was heaving violently as I spoke. Sophia felt guilty and didn't dare to look me in the eye. The forced smile on her face was also very fake. She reached out her hand to me, trying to pull me. "I misunderstood you, Julian." I moved aside to avoid her touch. She stiffened for a moment and then regained her normal expression and continued, "I can explain the misunderstanding about me and Ethan. But you have to believe that I love." Before Sophia could finish her words, she was interrupted by Ethan's scream from behind. "Ah, Coco, what's wrong with you?" As soon as she heard that something was wrong with Coco, she immediately turned around and rushed towards Ethan. The dog suddenly fainted, and Ethan said it needed to be taken to the animal hospital urgently. Sophia also anxiously agreed and said they had to go right away. She looked in my direction, left a word, "Wait for me," and then ran away with Ethan, holding the dog in their arms without looking back. Luna, who was sitting in the car, leisurely honked the horn twice. "Little brother, they've already walked far away. Why are you still looking? If you really can't let go, sister can also take you with me when I come to Hongqing next time." I bent down and shook my head at her. "No, let's go now." Before getting into the car, I took one last look at the place where I had sweet memories with Sophia. Goodbye, Hongqing. Goodbye, Sophia. In the blink of an eye, I've been abroad for almost 4 months. During this period, my brother and I went to Sri Lanka, Brazil, and Madagascar together. We visited most of the places in the world that are rich in gemstones. The video account we operated together also gained more than 1 million followers, and we had a group of loyal and reliable customers. The business kept growing larger and expanding more widely. I often traveled back and forth between various countries, but I never went back to Hongqing. One day, a supplier said that several sapphires with very high clarity had arrived. Since Daniel was busy and couldn't make it, I went to check the goods alone. Unexpectedly, I met a colleague from my previous company in China. After exchanging a few casual greetings, I went to deal with my business. Then, Sophia's call came in. Seeing the familiar phone number, I was first astonished as to why she would call me after such a long time. Then I thought it was ridiculous to think that, could she be calling to ask for a reconciliation? After much deliberation, I still hung up the phone. Unexpectedly, she sent me a text message. How do I operate the system of the company's procurement backstage? Seeing this somewhat abrupt message, I was also a bit confused. So I sent her the usage methods one by one according to my previous memory. Sophia didn't reply to the message but sent me a photo of herself with a big belly. The postscript said, "It's been 7 months. Can you come back and accompany me during childbirth?" Calculating the time of my last intimacy with her, it was exactly 7 months ago from now. That is to say, the child in her belly was mine. Although I was shocked by this situation, I still decided that no matter what she had done before, I had to take on the responsibility of being a father. In a hurry, I told my brother that I had something to do and needed to go back to China, and then I bought the fastest flight back. When I urged the driver to step on the gas hard and reached the airport entrance, I suddenly received a text message from Ethan. It contained photos of him accompanying Sophia for the prenatal checkup, and there was also a voice message in which she said that the child in her belly was Ethan's. I was fooled again. When Sophia's call came in again, this time I answered it decisively. "Sophia, is this kind of thing fun for you? I hope you can take some responsibility for the child in your belly and don't randomly claim a father when there is already one." Before she could reply, I quickly hung up the phone and deleted all her contact information. I cancelled the plane ticket, and the originally clear sky started to rain. I couldn't get a taxi to the hotel I rented in Sri Lanka for a while. I could only be forced to stay outside the airport to take shelter from the rain. At this time, calls from Sophia's other phone numbers kept coming in. I hung up again and again, and she called again and again. Finally, I couldn't bear it anymore and answered the call. On the other end of the phone, Sophia said tearfully, "I'm sorry, Julian. I'm not pregnant. All of this is a lie I made up to get you back. It's all because I can't bear to part with you." I didn't say anything. She continued to cry, "I've missed you so much during the time you've been abroad. But Coco's health has been poor and it often goes to the hospital. I have to take care of the dog and deal with the company's affairs at the same time. I really didn't have time to contact you. Julian, you will understand me, right? In the past, because I loved her and felt sorry for her, whenever we quarreled and she said she was busy and tired, I would stop arguing and start to humbly please her. But now I understand that blindly tolerating can't win others' understanding. They will just treat you like a big fool. Just like Sophia treating me now. Julian, please don't stay silent, okay? Please comfort me." Hearing this, I was stunned for several seconds, as if the Sophia I first met was having a conversation with me from a distance. I composed myself and was about to speak. Luna drove and stopped at the drop-off point and shouted at me, "Little brother, you can't park here for a long time. Hurry up and get in." I replied with an "okay" and quickly hung up the phone and ran over. Sophia, who was on the other end of the phone, heard the female voice coming from the phone and angrily threw her phone to the ground. She shouted at the secretary, "Find a hospital and arrange a doctor. I want the child in my belly to be born prematurely. Also, help me book a flight ticket to Sri Lanka 2 months later." After going back, my brother saw that I looked like an eggplant beaten by frost and told me that I could go on a trip to relax during this period. Coincidentally, Luna also wanted to go for a walk, so she took me on a tour within Sri Lanka. When we came back from the trip, we met Sophia standing at the entrance of the hotel with a suitcase in her hand. As soon as she saw me, she immediately dropped the suitcase in her hand and pounced towards me. I sidestepped to avoid her, and she immediately pouted and complained with a dissatisfied look on her face, "I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have ignored you because of Coco before. Now I promise I won't do it again, Julian. Luna rolled her eyes at her and casually dragged my suitcase to her side. "I'll take the things in first." I nodded and replied, "Okay." Sophia put on a fake smile on her face. "Julian, who is this sister? It doesn't matter to you who she is, does it?" My tone was too cold, and she didn't react for a moment. "Julian, what are you doing? Why are you being so mean to me?" After saying that, tears welled up in her eyes again, and she sobbed, "We started a business together and endured hardships together. We've gone through thick and thin. Why now that the company is getting better and better, you want to leave me? And you want to break up with me so heartlessly? I'm telling you now that I don't want to. Julian, I don't want to break up with you. Sophia cried and reached out her hand to hold me. I took several steps back and resisted, saying, Miss Sophia, I have already broken up with you. This is not appropriate. She was shocked by my answer, and then she cried even louder. I know you still care about what happened with Coco. But you don't know that when I was a child, I had a dog that accompanied me for more than 10 years and it was also named Coco. It died of illness. Until I met this dog that looks exactly like Coco, I couldn't help but regard it as Coco. I gave it the same name and poured all my love for Coco onto it. It's just because I lost Coco once and I can't bear to lose it a second time. You understand this feeling, right, Julian? Seeing her crying like this, my heart couldn't help but feel sorry for her, and I softened my tone a bit to persuade her. Sophia, we have no future together. I've let go, and you should also let go and move forward. She collapsed and shouted, I don't want to. I can't let go. Since you left the company, Ethan took over your job and embezzled all the company's public funds and the kickbacks from suppliers. Then I realized how important you were to the company and how selflessly you had contributed to me. My face turned cold. It turned out that it was because of Ethan's mischief that she remembered my goodness. Seeing that I was still unmoved, Sophia continued to play the emotional card of the company. Julian, Ethan fired all the key employees of the company. I offered 10 times the previous salary, but I still couldn't get them back. Now the company is on the verge of collapse. You don't want the company we founded with our own hands to be destroyed like this, do you? Come back, please. Just come back to the company and help me for the sake of our hard work, Julian. I glanced at her and said coldly, I poached those key employees. Sophia seemed to be struck by lightning and repeated blankly, you poached them? The look of disbelief and confusion in her eyes clearly said that how could I, a gigolo with a little ability, poach those key employees under her? I let out a soft laugh. It was me. After the confrontation that day, when Sophia left, she just said that she still loved me and wouldn't give up on me. I just thought she was unwilling and said it casually, and I didn't take it to heart. I went to buy gemstones with Luna as usual. Today, Luna wasn't feeling well because she was on her period and was resting in the car. I wanted to buy a bottle of water for her to relieve her discomfort. As soon as I got out of the car, I was surrounded by several big men. They knocked me out with a club and took me away. I sat up, holding the painful back of my head. Sophia ran to me in a hurry with a band-aid in her hand. Are you okay? She tore open the packaging of the band-aid and wanted to put it on my forehead. I was so scared that I quickly rolled off the bed to avoid her touch. Sophia angrily threw the band-aid on the bed and pointed at me, Julian, don't be ungrateful. The warm blood flowed down from my forehead, and I winced in pain while holding my head. She stared at me nervously and distressedly and complained, what are you doing? I just wanted to put a band-aid on you. Why did you kidnap me here? Sophia raised her eyebrows with an expression that said, you know what I mean. I sat in the place farthest from her in silence, showing a silent resistance. Until she got tired of standing and relaxed, I rushed towards the door in a hurry. As soon as I opened the door, I saw those big men who had kidnapped me before standing outside. Sophia sneered with a crooked mouth, looking like a devil who had fallen into hell. All the people outside are mine. Julian, you can't run away. Isn't it good to go back to China with me obediently, get married and have children? Seeing that I was clearly reluctant, she seemed to have triggered some kind of darkening mechanism. She started to approach me maniacally, Julian, you owe me a child, and you have to pay it back. I was completely at a loss. While dodging and keeping a distance from her, I questioned her, when did I owe you a child? Tears dripped down Sophia's face, and she threw her head back and laughed loudly. I had a cesarean section in advance to give birth to our son in order to beg you to get back together with me. But he was clearly doing fine in the incubator. As soon as I flew to find you, he suddenly stopped breathing. Don't you think you owe me a child? Hearing this, I didn't know what to say. I felt sorry for that child who had just been born. I also hated irresponsible parents like Sophia. The door was blocked, and I didn't want to fight against Sophia, whose mental state was already out of order. I swept my gaze towards the window. I'm afraid this is the only way out left. With a big stride, I rushed to the edge of the windowsill. Sophia was so scared that her eyes seemed much clearer. She quickly waved her hand to persuade me, Julian, this is the 15th floor. You'll lose your life if you jump down. Seeing that I was resisting her like this, she shouted desperately. Why on earth won't you get back together with me and be with me again? After asking, she fell into a crazy mood again and started laughing maniacally. Is it because of that dog? Don't worry, I've already given that dog away. Seeing that I didn't respond, she shook her head and said, Is it because of Ethan? Don't worry. After our son died, Ethan squandered all the company's money. In a fit of anger, he guess what I did to him? I didn't guess, nor did I jump out of the window. Luna rushed in with the local police in a timely manner to rescue me. When Sophia heard the siren of the police car, she fled in a panic. Luna reached out her hand to me. I'll hold you. You climbed down slowly. Sweat dampened her rosy face, and I heard my heart start to pound. After that day, Sophia never showed up again, and Luna and I got together tacitly. I never expected that I would be in a relationship with an older woman. But to be honest, an older sister like Luna is really great. Soon, we reached the stage of discussing marriage. Luna's parents said that the condition for marrying her was to open 3 companies in China. In less than 3 years, I opened 2 branch companies in China. When the 3rd company opened, to celebrate, Luna and I went to the site in person for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Luna's parents were also at the scene and were very satisfied with me. Just as the host announced the start of the ribbon-cutting ceremony, someone in the crowd played through a loudspeaker. The person in charge of a well-known jewelry company actually started his career by relying on a rich woman and living off her. These eye-catching words put together immediately caused a commotion among the crowd. Standing on the stage, I immediately locked onto Ethan in the audience. I signaled the bodyguards behind me with my eyes to take action, and Ethan was dragged away by the bodyguards and the security guards maintaining order at the scene. The ceremony continued. Luna's parents scanned me and said, "Handle this matter as soon as possible. Don't let there be any mistakes in next month's wedding." I nodded in agreement. Luna stroked the back of my hand worriedly. "I and the baby will be waiting for you at home." When I saw Ethan, he was tied up with tape around his mouth and all over his body, and was thrown in the utility room. I went up to untie him, and he couldn't wait to curse at me. "You're a gigolo. You're just lucky. You could cling to Sophia before, and now you can cling to Luna's family. Your luck will run out someday. I can't deal with you now, but when your luck runs out, I don't believe I can't deal with you." I was puzzled. If the conflict was because of Sophia, I had already completely cut off relations with her several years ago. So where did Ethan's overwhelming resentment come from? What did Sophia do to you because of me? With just one sentence, Ethan's eyes turned red. Through his intermittent sobbing and accusation, I understood that Sophia had gone crazy after losing the child back then. The dog wasn't given away, it was buried in the ground. Ethan was also tied up by her and made into a eunuch. Being a modern eunuch is simply a complete despair and humiliation. After hearing this, I contacted the African side overnight and sent Ethan there to study and further his education. If this potential risk couldn't be eliminated, the only option was to send him to a faraway place where he would never appear again, which was the best outcome. Luna and I had a successful wedding. When seeing off the guests at the hotel, I accidentally caught a glimpse of a loving and reluctant gaze in the corner. I told Luna that I had something to deal with. I accidentally met Sophia, who was dressed as a cleaning lady, at the door of the restroom. I hadn't seen her for a few years, and she looked incredibly old, like an old woman in her 50s. Just as I was about to open my mouth to ask, I heard a child bouncing over from behind and shouting, "Mom." Sophia smiled embarrassedly. "This is my son, Julian." Seeing my dark expression, Sophia immediately sent the little boy out to play. Then she explained to me, the time of conception was too close back then. I originally thought that child was Ethan's. But when he was found to have low sperm motility, I thought the child was yours. "I really didn't mean to deceive you." I replied coldly, "Sophia, I think it's very clear between you and me. There's no possibility for us anymore. I hope you can give up that idea." She tightly pinched the corner of her clothes and stammered, "I know." After giving the warning, I was in a hurry to go back and accompany Luna, so I turned around and was about to leave. Then I heard Sophia ask anxiously behind me, "Julian, if there hadn't been that dog and Ethan back then, you would have always loved me, right?" I didn't look back and just said coldly, "No." When Sophia heard my answer, she could barely stand up. The person behind her held her up steadily. Just as she was about to say thank you, the person covered her mouth and dragged her away. I'm not the person I used to be anymore. Since Sophia appeared in Hongqing with an adopted little boy, she has been under my surveillance. If she wants to take revenge on me decades later, I will definitely nip that in the bud. After all, reality is not a novel. I won't let the grudges of the older generation be passed on to the younger generation. The bodyguard came back and said that Sophia and that little boy had been safely sent onto the plane to Africa. I nodded. I told the driver to drive back to the villa. That's where my family is, waiting for me to go home for dinner.